Welcome to For Collectors.
Good evening, collectors. Another live stream. Welcome to For Collectors. For Collectors, my name is Sammy Thunder. Gonna see how this one goes. Generally, live streams during the week at this time of day is not really something that's as popular. Usually, you kind of have to go a little bit later in the evening to because everyone's usually commuting or getting home or whatever they're doing, for their families and so forth. But yeah, man, this is a busy week in terms of live streams. I did one on Sunday. It just the rotation kind of, shifted that way. Where I did the Sunday, and I could have done a recording and a collaboration, but just based on the amount between work and everything, all that stuff, I just couldn't really find the opportunity to try to get a collaboration going for today. So instead, I figured since I didn't do a chill and chat on Sunday, I'd kind of move it over to today or tonight. But like I mentioned, busy week of live streams. Sunday was a live stream. Today's a live stream. And then you'll be pleased to hear that tomorrow I will be back on my own channel with Jason from Everyday Card Collector, and we'll be returning back for another Cardboard and Cold Ones. It's probably been since prior to the National, since we did our last one, and I took a hiatus, took a break, we were supposed to do it last week, but Jason had some things he had to take care of on his end, so we're going to be coming back tomorrow night at 8 p.m., which the guest we have is someone we've had on before, and I'm very pleased that he decided to make another appearance. So he will be appearing tomorrow night with us again. He emailed me and asked me, and I said, yeah, let's do it, man. And so look forward to it. 8 p.m. tomorrow night, Cardboard and Cold Ones with a special guest, and of course my co-host Jason. So I generally, this is the second time I've done a chill and chat on the For Collectors channel, but let's do a roll call, and it's a little, and as people come in, we'll continue kind of saying hello. I got Mike from Jayhawker. What's up, Mike? Mike just went to a show in Oklahoma and had a ball. Hey everyone, Sammy Thunder, keep me company on the commute home from work. Drive safely. Drive safely. What's up, Neil? I hope to. It's awesome that you and Ray are organizing the Philly show meetup afterwards, the YouTube meetup. I really hope I'm able to go. I guess, really it's going to, if Mookie and I drive together, it's going to come down to Mookie, which no pressure, Mookie. I get it. If you have things you got to do, that's all good. So, but I hope to be there. But I imagine regardless, you'll have a good turnout of people. Wait, what? Yeah, man, you heard right. We'll be back tomorrow. Just sat down to rest for a bit. This works out well. Perfect, man. Yeah, relax, take it easy. Sit back, because I think I have a good topic to discuss for tonight. Something I think all of us can relate with. My co-host Jason, what's up, my friend? I can always make time for live, Sammy. In the flesh, man, in the flesh. We're gonna have some kind of crack open a beer, and I got 2 cases of Zadies waiting for me. So 1 beer, of course. How exciting! Always happy to have you live. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. And I know you're always there watching, so I greatly appreciate that. We are back. Yes, we are. We are definitely back. Sven said, "Let's go. Let's go, man. Let's go." The wolf pack is back, baby. Are we doing the wolf pack like they did in the WCW? Max Jackson, what's up, buddy? Good to have you here, man. So I was trying to come up with things to talk about for tonight, and I was kind of just drawing blanks left and right. I just couldn't think of anything. But then I started thinking about like humility in the hobby. And I feel like it's such a tough thing for us as collectors to accept the fact that that there are moments of humility in every shape and form of it. I just did a video on my channel talking about how I overpaid for some stuff. There's humility there to kind of like accept and just be upfront with the fact that overpaying on stuff's going to happen, and it's I almost, and I do this myself. I fall victim of this, and I feel as though we do this as well to kind of as a defense mechanism. And I'm starting, what ends up happening is a lot of the times we'll be at a show and there'll be a meetup or we're going to show the card after, and I see this with myself and I see this with other collectors as well. They'll show the card. It looks fantastic. Like let's say it's like a low grade. I don't know. It's like a tough card to find, a low grade Venezuelan card of a star player. There's no particular person I'm thinking of in this situation. I'm just giving you a scenario. A person who buys a low-grade Venezuelan, but pays more than pays more because of maybe centering or because of presentation, registration, whatever, however it shows. And a lot of times, what I find is that people will show the card and they'll say, "Yeah, I paid a little bit more than I should have." But it's a great card. I mean, it's a great card, and I know, like, I love the card, and I do that too, and I find that we do that to defend ourselves because we're ready for some sort of onslaught of how can you overpay for that card. But 99% of the time I've never had someone counter and say that. I've had people who said, it's such a beautiful card. It's so cool. It's such a tough card. So I think it's I feel like as though maybe it's a little difficult to drop it because we're so in tune with trying to defend our actions, to defend our decisions. But I think it's okay. And so I don't want to, I'm not the live stream tonight was not to discuss, overpaying, trying to defend overpaying, but it was meant to just kind of address something that I feel like we do as collectors from time to time. I'm not saying everybody does it, but I think people do it. I do it, and I'm try to train myself not to, because we shouldn't have to defend our decisions if we overpay on something. We if we overpaid on something, we really love that card. We really love the way it looks. We love everything, all the factoring decisions that went into buying that card. So anyway, sorry, I'm just kind of going back, seeing Yankee Me cards. Hey Doc, good to see you, man. Live from Tucson. Good. Dan is saying we all have our share of overpayment stories. Yeah, it's nothing new. And we also kind of have our share of cards that we get great deals on. It goes both ways. Just got my 1913 National Game Chance. That's pretty sweet. Those are great cards. It's a very underrated set, I think. The Polo Grounds and the National Game, both are great underrated sets. Neil says, kind of like I'd imagine, kind of Neil saying this with a shrug. It happens, no biggie, and I agree. Max says, I try to always share my gratitude for owning cards. It is a luxury that is not lost on me to have the disposable income. Great point. Great point on that. Definitely the disposable income part. It's important. Hey, Jake T. O'Donnell is here. What's up, buddy? Steven Sports MD. What's up, man? First time listening in. Good to have you here. So the real reason, it kind of ties in a little bit to what I just talked about, but the main talking point that I had in mind for tonight was talking about kind of the good and bad pickups of now. What I'm going to share is not individual pickups like cards or just like a single card or two cards. I'm talking about like collections. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about, and you guys can chime in. I'm really encouraging people to chime in on this in the chat. But what I'm going to talk about are the experiences that I've had picking up collections from the past since I've gotten back into the hobby. And these are really, learning experiences, learning opportunities that I feel are important because I've had to learn from really stupid decisions that I've made when it comes to collecting in this hobby, and you know, um, just again sharing that humility, being honest, and being upfront about some of these things because there, like I said, there have been great purchases, and there have been some purchases that I wish I could just sweep under the rug. And so it's good to kind of acknowledge both. So let me see. Jason just mentioned no need to defend anything. It's your collection and your card. At the end of the day, the whole hobby should be a humble experience. It's supposed to be fun. We are adults collecting baseball cards. Yeah. At the end of the day, that's really what matters. Um, can we talk about not? Can we talk about not talk about underrated? I believe we're giving dealers sellers idea. I'm trying to phrase that in my mind as far as what you said. Can we talk about not talk about underrated? So you don't. I'm guessing what I'm reading from that doc is you don't want to mention that the national game or the Polo Grounds game sets are underrated. And if that's the case, I let's revert that back. Okay. So like I mentioned before, I want to go. I want to take you guys back to I think it was 2021. 2021. Thank you. Let's see. Yeah, let's keep it quiet. 2021. This is before I got back into the hobby. 2021. I was strolling down in Baltimore with my wife and mother-in-law, and we were in Federal Hill in a neighborhood in Baltimore. And we were walking down in this neighborhood, and my wife wanted to check out this. She thought it was a bookstore, and it partially was. It was a bookstore, but when we got there, we found out it was more of a nostalgia shop, kind of like toys and records and everything. Like just if you can imagine, it's like a warehouse space with records and toys, game consoles, and then in a little cardboard box, I found some cards. And really, I'm getting this is being out of the hobby for 10, 15 years, and I look inside, and there were 1981, 82 Topps basketball cards, and I think there were a couple of baseball cards as well. And so I pick out four cards from there. Pick out the Larry Bird. I pick out the Magic Johnson. I pick out the Derek Jeter Topps. I think it was 93. I think it was 93. So I picked that out, and there's one other card I picked out. I can't remember what it was, but I brought it up to the counter because it had no price on it. I didn't really, um, I didn't know there was just in a cardboard box loose. So I asked the guy at the counter. I said, "Hey, how much are these going for? How much are you asking for these?" And he kind of like looked at them, and he was like, "Oh, just give me a quarter for each one." So, not knowing, I mean, I'm just like, I'm looking at these cards and look at the Larry Bird and the Magic Johnson in particular. Like it's a second year. I was able to know at least and remember from parts of my past in the hobby that when you look in the back and you see there was like stats for the first year that was going to be the second year card. And so I knew I was like, okay, this card is definitely worth a little more than a quarter. So I was like, absolutely, let's do it. So I think I bought like $2 worth of cards. There might have been actually 8 cards total, not 4. But nevertheless, like that kind of started that stigma of wanting to like thrill of the hunt, and that's what got me back into it. And it started forcing me to do research about all these different cards. And so that was like one of the earliest moments, or that was the earliest moment of getting back into the hobby that kind of pushed everything forward for me. It got me excited about collecting again, and I still have that Larry Bird card. It's graded as graded, and it came back as an SGC 8. I've had it for quite some time. But that was, for me, that was obviously like a very positive purchasing experience of buying a group of cards together. But The second story that pushing forward, I'd say maybe 6 months. So that would have been March of 2021. So if we go into the summer, let's say July, I can't remember the exact time frame, but if you go into the July of 2021, I go on Facebook Marketplace and I see a listing that shows like a basket, so like something you would have in your home, like a little basket of cards with rubber bands around them, and they're old, like not old, but like like they're in seventies cards, and I think the asking price, if I remember, was like 175, 175 for a basket of 70s cards, and there's no way to know what's in there. They had rubber bands around them, and I think they advertised it as a bunch like 70s cards from like I don't know 3 or 4 thousand of the 1970s cards. No way to know what's in them. Like I mentioned, there were no photos of like of key cards or anything like that. So you're paying 175 for like a crapshoot essentially. And I go back and forth with the messaging with the woman that posted the Facebook Marketplace advertisement, and they weren't too far from where I was. It was like about maybe I don't know 45 minutes to an hour drive north from where I am in the city. And so the thing like the here's where it kind of gets a little sketchy, and it might have been a tactic that was done on her part to get a little bit more money. I think she advertised it as 150, and then after we agreed on the 150, she said, "Oh, somebody said they pay 175. Can you do 175?" And I said, in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, well, that could just been a tactic to get more money, but I agreed to it. I said, fine, 175. Um, the thing was is that the person that they claimed wanted to pay 175 was going to offer that right then and there. So I'm really rolling the dice, and I said, "Oh, I essentially I would have had she wanted me to give 175 immediately through like Zelle or PayPal or something." So red flags you would think are starting to go off. Like, okay, you're going to pay money, go to this place, and then you're going to get screwed. So I had that in mind. I was concerned, um, but she gave me an address. I showed up, and lo and behold, it was legit. Everything was good to go. And so I got the basket, which I guess they took all the cards out of the basket and they put it into these like plastic tubs, like a small tub. And it was really a lot to go through right then and there. The woman was there, and I guess her husband was meeting up as well. And it turns out it was his collection. It was his collection, and he said he was really pleased, happy to. It was kind of like a bittersweet because he was sad to let them go, but happy that they were going to a collector. And so I took them home, and in the car I was really excited because I really wanted to go through them, but obviously I had to drive an hour home, so that hour was full of just thrill and excitement, just thinking, oh man, the prospects of what's in here. And that's always the fun in it, is knowing, is a little bit of the unknown. So for me at the time, just to backtrack a second, paying 175 for cards like this was a lot for me because I was still new, I was still fresh getting back into it, so I didn't really know. you know I figured I would take a shot at it. So got back home, I opened the box, and I started stacking all of these cards on the table. And I decided, I was like, you know what? It was early in my channel. Let's do a live stream of me sorting through stuff. I've seen other people do it. Why don't I do it? So I started doing it, and it was incredible. What I ended up finding in there were like maybe 4 to 5 George Brett rookie cards, 5 to 6 Robin Yount rookie cards, Tom Severs, Nolan Ryan, 73, just Mike Schmidt, 73 rookie card was in there. I'm trying to think what else. 76 Eckersleys, star cards, but I mean commons too. And clearly, there's pretty much everything from, I would say, 73 to 78 or 79. And I had to spend at least 3 or 4 live streams going through and sorting through everything So it definitely was a lot. But to me, that was an example of, an opportunity paying off. And I can tell you this much: since then, buying big tubs of cards like that for like a price of like $175 to $200 just does not happen anymore. Doesn't happen. I haven't seen anything like that in Facebook Marketplace. Maybe I'm not looking carefully enough, but you just don't see it anymore. And looking back on it now, I think about, wow, like like having that opportunity to pay 175 for a great collection like that is like, I would kill to have something like that again. But it's one of those, once in a moment. So I'm just gonna go back to the chat for a second and just see. It looks like people are kind of going back and forth a little bit about. Let's see what Max said. I'm also mindful, not always perfect to say I need a card. I try to always say want. We are not entitled to cards, as there is potentially always a bigger fish in the sea. Yeah, I agree with that. I always try to train myself to say want and not need, because you don't need a card, you want a card. Classy, what's up? Classy Sports Cards. Hey, everyone. To try not to say need. Yeah. And Jason agrees. Agreed, Max. I catch myself saying that as well. No one needs a card. The privilege of owning the card is the fun in the hobby. Yes. For me personally, when you start looking at cards as a need, that is where entitlement comes in, and I do not feel that is healthy collecting practices. It's a good point. Everyone has their own philosophy. And Doc was saying, sorry, the new phrase underrated suggests we are not paying enough, which, as a collector, let's not give dealers any ideals to increase prices. All right, Doc, I will silence myself going forward from that. Card Closet, what's up, buddy? Evening, Sammy, what's up, man? Robert says, I've made many bad decisions late at night in Federal Hill. Glad to hear you got a great deal and have fond memory. Yes, thank you very much. Brian is here. Gave a video a like. Hey, everyone. Mike Hitman 23, what's up, man? What's up? Good to have you here, buddy. So, all right, I told you guys about a good collection pickup experience. Now I'll tell you about a negative one. Not so much negative as far as the experience, or as far as the buying it, but this is where I had buyer's remorse. And I'll admit to this because, again, I was fresh. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I'm still fresh, but I feel as though I've learned a lot more. I've learned a lot since over the course of the 4 years being back into the hobby, and I feel as though, these mistakes I wouldn't make again, because I've let me preface this story by saying that, as collectors, there's a level of desirability to want to pick up cards as often as possible, and I try now to I try to appreciate the pickups that I make, for as much as I can, so that I'm not just going from card to card to card. That I'm really engaging with what I picked up to understand its history, to understand the importance, to appreciate the look and the feel of it, and to have it be a connecting point in my collection. Anyway, suffice to say, the next story talks about picking up a collection that I found on, God, this must have been Craigslist. Yeah, it was Craigslist. So Craigslist, there's a guy who advertised the collection, had pictures, showed the highlights, which were, for me at the time, and they still are. There was a 66 mantle, and boxes and boxes of vintage, various sorts, and other assorted items as well. But so when essentially I mentioned to the guy, like, hey, I wanted to come up and take a look at it. Um, are you available at so and so time? And they said yes. So I drove up north to this guy's house. It was like in the Bear Mountain area, and like northern New York. I would say probably about a good hour drive from me, and it was in a very, not a, like, wouldn't call it rural, but secluded. in a very secluded. Is a guy's had a nice house, secluded, and in his garage he had his cards laid out, ready for me to take a look. So I walked up, and the guy was pretty young. I'd say he's probably maybe if I'm I've just turned 39, so he probably was like in his early 40s, maybe late 40s. But um, he had his cards laid out, boxes and boxes of stuff. And the boxes turned out to be sets, were like filled, probably duplicates or triplicates even, of 75 and 76, 74s, 77s, and 78s. I didn't see any, maybe there were some 73s and 72s and 71s, but a small in comparison. And then on a single table, he had the single, like the Hall of Fame single cards that were probably the more desirable. You had Mantle, Mays, Koufax. Um, I couldn't remember. Maybe a couple of rookies like Reggie Jackson, Mike Schmidt, Brett, and so forth. And so essentially had all of this, and like I had pretty much stars in my eyes. Like I really wanted this collection. And I think at the time that my first offer was something like, I don't know, 600 or 650 for the entire collection. Um, and so he said, "Oh, I gotta think about it. I have to think about it, because I'm having someone else take a look at the collection tomorrow. But if they pass on it, then I'll give you a call and let you know." And so I was like, I drove all this way. I didn't want to just go home empty-handed. So I said, "Well, what's your best asking price?" And I think he mentioned he wanted, I don't know, like 1,000 or 1,100 for everything. And I was like, oh, I can't get that high. That's just way too much. It's way too much for me. Um, so we're going. He tells me, it's like, well, let me think about it. Let me think about it. And he repeats, like, I'll give you a call if the guy who sees it tomorrow passes up on it. And so I make another offer, and I said, well, would you take 800 for it? And he goes, no, I can't. I think the best price I can do is like 950 for it. And so I'm thinking about it. I'm just pondering the thought of buying this full big collection. Now, granted, like I said, they had the singles, and then they had boxes of commons, like tons, like boxes and boxes between 74 and 78, maybe 79 as well. But commons, not stars, maybe a few semi-stars. So just kind of give you the big picture here. I paid the 950 for the collection. Now the cards were the singles were pretty low grade, so they weren't these incredible condition cards. So I took it home, and I'm driving home, and I'm thinking, like, I'm not feeling good about I'm not about the collection purchase. I'm just not feeling positive about it. I feel like when I was thinking back on it, I felt like I overpaid completely. And you know, definitely. And as far as return on, like, later on when I decided to put them out for card shows and so forth, I didn't make back what I paid for it. But I took it home, and I remember I was like getting ready for bed, and I was telling my wife, I'm thinking like, oh, I definitely didn't feel good about this. And she, more or less told me, it's like, it's, buyer's remorse. It's not gonna be the first person that had that in the, probably in the hobby that it happened to, and certainly not the last person. And so I thought, yeah, you're right. But again, I was so new, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I thought I was buying up a collection, and at the time, 950 was a lot of money, and still is a lot of money. Regardless any way you look at it, it still is a lot of money. But those are the experiences, those are the memories, those are the purchases you learn from. And I can't recall another time where between then and now, where I've like gone off the deep end on something like that. And I think that's um, it's one of those things like you don't mention at the time because you feel embarrassed. You feel as though like, oh, it's gonna, you know, you feel like it only happens to you. But I feel as though that at one point or another, there's been people that collectors that have had this happen. So, but you live and learn. I'm just going back to the chat now. Just want to check with where we're at. Ross is here. What's up, Ross? Good to have you here, my friend. With dealers who charge premium on great cards, I want them to pay premium when buying as well, not 80% of value. Give me 100% of value when they can charge their 20%. So, yeah, it's an imperfect system. So on my video that I did talking about paying over on something, there's a lot of factors that go into those decisions that I make. I think, when it comes to maybe a more frequently found card, I think, these, with what you're suggesting, might, can be implemented. But I feel as though a lot of the times, like, when you mentioned the 100% of value, a lot of times what I find is that the really tough cards that, like, if I, I'll give you an example. If I were to sell my Coca-Cola 52 Maze Coca-Cola, I would, because of my emotional attachment to it, and because I know how difficult they are to find, I would not take anything less than 100% because those are the sort of things that you can really kind of define the price because of how few sales there are. So in that moment, I get your perspective. It's a tough situation. It's a tough thing, but I get it. Max says, for quote unquote bad pickups, I've always repeated the phrase, that was the price of an education. The perspective shift has always made me feel better about purchases some may regret. Yeah, absolutely. Trying to take away a lesson from those types of buys and never make the same mistake twice. Should I assume we're only talking baseball? I talked a little bit of basketball earlier about some basketball cards I picked up. So Doc is saying no, which I assume he's answering the question to that. Warren D in the CLA, what's up, guys? I'm late. That's all good, man. Good to have you here. And Scott, best dressed man on YouTube. Yep, he wants me to. That's code for promote the T-shirt. Yeah, I just got this is the new shirt, man. Carmelo Deportivo. The T-shirt came in yesterday. I really, really love it. It's a cool. I love the style of it. Sky did a good job on this one. You do a good job on all your shirts. So, shady self promotion. I was talking about the hat. Yeah, man, that's another good hat as well. You guys being from being from Ohio. Is that Captain Crunch? It is a captain, but not Captain Crunch. Hit the like button. Yeah, hit the like button to help out the Four Collectors channel. Collector Not Hoarder, what's up, buddy? Good to have you here. eBay, what's up, man? I love the oh man, what are the web art paperclip? Pretty cool. Did I overpay when I won the auction for SHC 1961 post Gil Hodges for $13? Oh, SGC, yeah, SGC. I was like wondering for a second, like what? Just saw the notification. I was in the middle of a long documentary on Monsanto, so sorry I missed the first half. Hey, no, you're good, man. You're good. It was a 5. I can't imagine. Yeah, Clippy, that was it. It was a 5. I can't imagine you overpaid on that. All right. I pretty much, I shared my 2 experiences, and I think it's definitely helped shape me as a collector and to understand kind of to navigate things a little bit better as as the years have progressed. And like I mentioned, like I've overpaid on stuff, but I've done it because I know because I factor in various things such as scarcity and presentation on a cards, like a card will present better than what others, like, compared to how others have sold in the past. And when you can't find a comparable card that presents similar to the one that you're buying, at that point, some people suggest looking at other players from the same set that kind of compare in price. That's not a bad idea. Um, but other times, using your gut instinct on it and trying to, again, trying to get the deal done. I'll give you an example. I have this on my desk right now, and I definitely paid a little bit over than what they've sold for in the past, but I wasn't that far off. And I bought this from oh god, I think his name is William. He was at the National. He set up. I think his name is William. Oh no, Henry. Excuse me, Henry Reynolds. The name just came to me. Henry Reynolds. I bought this. Speaking of, Caramello Deportivo, I bought this Caramello Deportivo at the National, Louis Tion Sr. And bought this from Henry Reynolds. It was at his table. Here's the back. So I bought this. I paid over compared to what they've sold in the past, just by a little bit. I think I paid maybe $25 more. But looking at the others and how they've sold, and looking at the condition, the other condition of the previously sold Tiant in a one, and I was able to kind of compare the, like, was this one better centered? Was this one have a crease? Did and so forth, like kind of factoring in various decisions. So was the back, was the back more great? Was it grayed out more, or not grayed out, but was it faded out more comparatively? And and I factor in all those things in my mind, and I realized, I offered a price to Henry, and he came back with a price, and I figured, yeah, for $25 more, I'm not gonna walk away from that. And a good way to know, and Jason and Aaron will appreciate this, but a good way to know is Aaron's buddy Joe was going to say, I was about to pick that. Like, if you didn't pick that up, I was going to do it. So, and Joe's the collector that similar mindset to me when it comes to picking up some few and far between stuff. So I was like, okay, if Joe is about to get it, then I think I made the right choice. um, yeah, Joe's a good dude. Joe, if I remember his last name, it's Rose. I think Joe Rosen. So Jason can, he can. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, Jason said it. I was there for that purchase. If you didn't buy it, I think Joe would have. Yeah, but Joe's got some good stuff, man. He's got some good stuff, and yeah, he's sold a lot of stuff to Jason. Joe's got a good collection. I should have him on at some point so he can show off some of his stuff. But um, I don't know. I does Jason does Joe have a channel? I don't know if he does. If he does, then I'm definitely not caught up with everything that's going on. Let's see. Lou is here. What's up, Lou? Good to have you here, man. Um, Jason's saying that Rosen is my croc dealer. Yeah, man. Oh, so he does not. Okay. Okay. Peeps, what's up, buddy? Tion Senior, man. Yeah, I love that. I love it too, man. It's a great card. It's a great card. And it's actually inspired me to start the Tions. Picking this up inspired me. Um, I'm going to partially not step away, but I'm going to start a new project of collecting uh, some of the Cuban, Dominican players from the New York Cubans that played for the New York Cubans. And I'll share more about that on my channel probably later this week. But there's a reason why. I think it's a fun reason. It's a fun project. It'll kind of open up the monotonous of Mathewson and Mays and Seaver and Ryan. Kind of make things, shake things up a little bit. I think that'll be fun. But that's for another time. So, but I think I've reached the plateau for tonight. I hope this was okay for everybody. I'll be back tomorrow on my own channel for vintage cardboard and cold ones with my buddy Jason and our special guest, who's going to be showing a bunch of cards, and we're going to let him loose and have him show cards nonstop, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So tomorrow night, 8 p.m. as always, Eastern Standard Time on my channel, Jason and I with Cardboard and Cold Ones. And I'll have another video for you guys on Friday. I'm trying to keep, for my channel, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So that's going to, and then a card show Saturday. That's always going to be the way it goes. But thank you guys so much for jumping on with me, listening to me ramble about buying up collections. And, we're getting close to the weekend for more card shows. So hopefully you guys get to go out to one or a card shop. But I appreciate everybody jumping on. I will catch up with you guys soon. You guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you tomorrow for Cardboard and Cold Ones.
Oh, love my hobby. Keep collecting baseball cards.
But hey, we want to keep the lights on here at Four Collectors Studios, so hit the like button for us, guys.
So thanks everybody for coming, and we'll see you next time on Four Collectors.
All right, guys, have a great rest of your night. Subscribe to the Four Collectors channel if you haven't done so yet, and we'll see you soon.
All right, guys. Clemente Collector has said we hit a grand slam, so that makes me feel good.